Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. As always, I am Jonathan, your host here at Quickbird Gaming. Thank you for tuning in for another video. I really do appreciate that. I'm going to apologize up front since it's a little loud and there's a little bit of flow noise, but you know, it's Arizona in June and I'm driving out here. It's in the 90s Fahrenheit. I think that'd be what, 35 and about 35 Celsius for our friends outside the US. So just had to keep the air conditioner on. So anyway, sorry about that, but I'll try to speak over it. So as you saw by the title of this video, this is about my unscripted thoughts on Souls-like games and why it's okay that they're hard. I've been thinking about this off and on for a while based on conversations with friends I've had. But this the impetus of this video really came when I saw a video on, an article on PC Gamer's website that with Lies of P having dropped their DLC, which I think it was called Overture, they were going to be, they included difficulty settings for it. Now, for anyone who's not aware, Lies of P is a Souls-like game. It's loosely based on the mythology of Pinocchio, as far as I understand. I don't know, I haven't played it, but it is a Souls-like game in the sense that it relies very heavily on things like dodging, evading, parrying, and otherwise avoiding enemy attacks, learning the patterns of those attacks, because the combat, can tend to wreck a player in a couple of hits if they're unable to dodge or otherwise get out of the way. And I think it got pretty wide praise. I'm just going off memory here. I seem to remember it's sitting about a 91% on Steam, and it was thought of to be a pretty good entry in the Souls-like genre. Anyway, they had a DLC release the other day, and with that DLC they included difficulties. Now, Souls games are kind of notorious for being difficult and for not having difficulty settings. It's usually you've got a default setting that's what you have to play with, and that's what it is. So, and from what I glean, the discussion right now about difficulty has to do with, in the DLC, people getting into New Game Plus, New Game Plus Plus, or Plus Plus Plus, etc., and several iterations into the new game, with the compounding difficulty each time they start a new game, that it was getting to the point where it was being unmanageable for most players. And I think people were kind of saying it was unbalanced, that the difficulty spike, the curve wasn't even, and so the developers have said they're going to look at this and see and talk about reducing the difficulty. But I kind of thought about that, and in a wider sense, thinking about Souls-like games and how difficult they are, I see a lot of people who say that Souls-like games are too hard, unnecessarily too hard. I read posts where people say, I love the lore, I love the idea of Game X. Most often, it's referred to with Elden Ring, but I see it with Sekiro, I see it with Dark Souls, and not so much with Bloodborne anymore, because I think that was such a niche game, and I think most people that even still play it anymore, it's kind of a niche game. So I see people saying, I would love to participate in this, but it's too hard. Why does it have to be so hard? And why can't we turn it down? And why can't we have difficulty settings? Etc., etc. Then I see on the other side of the camp, the Souls-like fans, people who love those games, saying, no, don't turn it down. We're tired of having games dumbed down. We like our games hard, and that's the whole point. And I don't know, this disconnect has kind of existed for a while, but it's been brought back up because of this discussion around Lies of P and the potential change in difficulty. So just, up front, I'll say, for me, and I'm going to caveat this by saying, I have never played a Souls-like game before. I would like to try one just to see, and in fact, I have one queued up that I'm really just waiting until I have the time to sit down and put my new PC together. I finally got in all the parts. My video card took forever and a day. It just got here. I would like to, as soon as I get this put together, I'm going to try one. It's one that's not real popular in the Souls genre. Most of the time when you think about that, people do talk about things like Dark Souls or Elden Ring or Sekiro or Lies of P even, Neo. So some of these other games like that, I've never played one. And and I'd like to try it. I probably won't be very good at it. I've already said I'm a mediocre gamer at best as it is, and I'm also into my 50s now. The reflexes ain't as sharp as they used to be, so I probably am not going to do well. The game that I'm going to be playing is called The Surge, and it was recommended to me by a friend I made through a gaming community, younger gentleman, and I really think he wants me to try this because, not because it necessarily might be the best intro to a Souls-like, but I think he really liked the game, so he thought I might like it too, and that's okay. But I'm gonna try it, but I'm coming at this from the perspective of somebody who, as of the recording of this video, has never played a Souls-like game. When Souls-like players, people who are fans, people who have built the genre with their patronage through Dark Souls, through Elden Ring, and so on, say that they like the game the way it is and they don't want it dumbed down, I'm okay with that. I think that's fine. This is where I don't think that every game has to appeal to every player. I think it's okay if some games are harder than others. I think it's okay that some games are not for every gamer. And the idea of a Souls-like at this point in the gaming continuity, when you hear the words Souls-like, you're expecting it to be difficult. You're expecting it to be harder than Skyrim. You're expecting it to be harder than Baldur's Gate. You're expecting it to be harder than Super Mario Kart. It is supposed to be a difficult time when you start getting into Souls-like. That's kind of what it means. So the fact that the From Software, obviously the big one, and other companies have made games that are more difficult, that's okay. And it's okay that fans like them and want them to stay that way. Now, trust me, I do understand when somebody says, I would love to play this game, I would love to check it out, I would love to, participate in it and see what the fuss is about, all this sorts of stuff. I would like to try it because I like the lore, I like the look of it, I like the aesthetics. I would like to do this, but I can't because it's too hard. And to that I say, okay, well, I mean, not everything is for everybody. That's just the unfortunate reality of it. And there's the argument, they say, how does it affect if you put difficulty sliders into the game? Who does that affect? It doesn't affect you. It doesn't affect your single player game. It blah, 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 blah. Okay, those are fair points. At the same time, I also understand that there is a certain personality built into these games. They are built into the game for a harder player. These games are built for harder players. They're built for players that want more of a challenge. And there is something degrading or, erosive about making a game that is built on difficulty easier. Now, I don't necessarily, I don't assign a whole lot of blame in these situations. I don't say that somebody's bad for this. I don't say the players that want to play the games but can't because they feel like they're too hard. I don't say they're bad. I don't say they're wrong for that. I understand they want to be involved. I don't blame any studio, like the Liza P studio is contemplating doing here, or did, I guess I should say, because they put it in the expansion. I don't blame them for actually making the game easier, putting in difficulty sliders. They're selling a product, they want to make money, they're trying to reach a wider audience. So I don't fault them for trying to do so. I also think that there is a line you walk when you try to be more appealing to a broader demographic. At some point, if you keep altering the core essence of what your product is, you eventually will start to lose the people that originally got you there in the first place. You'll start to lose the people that liked your product the way you had it in the first place. And I have a cartoon. I'll see if I can find it and insert it in the video right here and see if it shows kind of what I'm talking about. And this is something I've dealt with, in the course of writing my own books. I've had people say, well, you know, if you did X, Y, and Z with your characters, or you did this with your world, it would make it more inclusive, it would make it more appealing to a broader audience. And I say, but it wouldn't be my creation anymore. That's not what I'm trying to do. That's not the book I wanted to write if I were to do these things. So I fully understand if a developer doesn't want that for their game. I understand if the players who are playing that don't want that for their game. Now, I'm not going to use the words get good. First of all, I have no leg to stand on when it comes to telling other players to get good. That's just a fact. You know, when I say I'm not going to tell people to get good, I mean if they want to play these games, get good, as kind of a rejoinder. That's kind of an asshole response too, lacking in any kind of empathy. My response is just more along the lines of, hey buddy, maybe this is not for you. It doesn't have to be for you. And they don't have to make it for you. Like I've said, I am I've said before that Fallout is my favorite franchise in video games, especially 3, New Vegas, and 4. I have logged a lot of hours in those games. I love the vibe, I love the lore, I love the aesthetic, and I love the gameplay. If Bethesda decided they were suddenly going to start going to a more looter shooter style of drop, you know, let's just say speculatively, because I doubt this is going to happen, that Borderlands 4 is some kind of wild runaway success and sells 10 million copies in 6 months. And Bethesda sees this, and in the middle of their early production cycle for Fallout 5, wishful thinking, they start saying, okay, we need to make this more of a looter shooter. We need to start having lots of guns drop every time you turn around, and we're going to start randomizing these by color. You know, the randomized, putting it, the orange is going to be your legendary weapons, blah, 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 blah. That would really go against the aesthetic of Fallout. That would go against the grain of the game. And that would be bad enough, but it would be worse if Bethesda says, well, we wanted to appeal to a wider audience. In doing so, you lost what was interesting to your core audience. That's probably a ham-fisted example, but it was the best one I could think of on short notice. This is why I don't do these things unscripted. My metaphors and stuff usually aren't up to snuff if I do. But I think that makes the point, though. Yeah, okay. Here's a better one. Larian somehow miraculously gets the green light and has the gumption to do Baldur's Gate 4. But they say, oh, it's going to be an action RPG like Diablo, because we wanted to appeal to a broader audience. It would absolutely crucify interest in the game, because the people who are playing it, they don't want it for a broader audience. They don't want it to appeal to everyone. We don't want broader appeal. We want more of what we wanted in the game. And that to me is kind of the same thing with the Souls-likes. People enjoy them the way they are. And if your attitude, and whoa, almost lost the phone. I'm sorry, let me start over. This is going to come off as a little coarse, and a little abrasive. But if your attitude is, well, I just want to be able to play the game. I don't know why it can't be easier. Your attitude is frankly that of someone who says, I see a community where there's lots of fun things happening and I'm not part of it. So I'm going to try to bend it to my will so I can be part of it. Excuse me. Does that make sense? We see this kind of behavior across the spectrum in our society. We see it where somebody says, hey, this group has this community, but I can't be included because of XYZ. Well, I'm going to bend them to make it so that I can be included. And that's not how these things are supposed to work. Communities form due to something in common between the members that appeals to them and gives them a common purpose. In this case, the Souls-like community is held together by the fact that they can look at each other and go, yes, we know these games are difficult. We know they're a challenge. We persevere through them anyway. And we are ourselves for doing so. We're not the same as every other swath of gamer. Now, they will not be able to do that if every Souls-like game has an easy mode. Because the people who insist on having an easy mode, they will have achieved a victory through the game, while legitimate is lesser. And I'm just going to be straight up with you. I'm a big fan of modding. I've said so for years. One quick scan through Nexus mods showed me that for Lies of P, for Elden Ring, for Sekiro, there are already mods out there that will mod you to easy mode. There's nothing stopping you from doing it right this second. Aside from the fact, and these are just labeled easy mode mods, where they do things like turn down the amount of damage you receive, give you more resources, etc. This is not counting trainers, which will turn on and off everything in the game for you, cheats, and any number of other mods. You could play these games today if you're willing to put in the effort to mod them. But I don't think people that want easy modes in games want to do that. I think they want to be able to say, look, I beat the game legitimately. But did you? You had to have the difficulty turned down. See, you're asking me. My answer, again, to be rather rude, is I don't give a fuck. If I'm playing a game and it's too hard, but I'm really enjoying the story and so forth, I'm going to mod it so I can finish and see it. And if anybody asks me, did you finish it? Excuse me. I'll say, yeah, I played it. I had to mod it to get to the end. Well, you're not much of a gamer. I know. What's your point? You're going to try to insult me? Tell me because I'm not a good gamer? I don't have time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that, as the saying goes. So I don't care. It's, the whole point of me playing a game is to relax and escape. To get away. And I play a bunch of different games so I can see different things and then relax and escape. And somebody says, well, you shouldn't have to mod it to beat it. And I said, well, you should mind your own business. If you want to participate in these games, the methods are out there already. You don't have to wait for From Software to put an easy mode on a game. You didn't have to wait for Lies of P either. But the fact that somebody will sit there and say, I want an easy mode. Well, there's a mod for it. Well, I don't want a mod because that's not legitimate. You're just splitting hairs. If you want to play these games and it's too hard for you, there are methods available for you to do it. Take advantage of it. You don't have to try to dampen everybody else's enthusiasm for what they see as a challenge and it's something to be overcome and accomplished and defeated. An accomplishment that they can overcome. You don't have to try and take that away from them. Well, I'm not taking anything away if I have a easy mode. Not directly, no. Indirectly, though, the effect that it has on the culture surrounding the game, you are. And on the future and games of that type in the future. Look, I know Elden Ring was a huge success. Most Souls-like games are not huge successes. They are not huge successes because, quite honestly, it's not the Souls-like genre, for all the buzz it gets, is not one of the more popular genres in video games. Quite honestly. I would guarantee you that if you stack it up against, well, first of all, if you stack it up against things like sports games, the amount of copies that EA sells of their sports games, if you stack it up against things like, casual games like The Sims and Stardew Valley, the number of players those games have, if you stack it up against first-person shooters, your Call of Duties, your Counter-Strikes and so on, Fortnites. You stack it up against those. You keep going down the genres. Souls-like is a very small portion of the community, and their games typically don't sell 10 million copies. So just leave them alone. Let them have their copy, a corner of that world. If you want to participate, go in there and try it. If it's too hard, mod it and, you know, experience the game. And frankly, the number of excuse me, the number of the number of Souls-like players that will give you a bunch of crap if you say, look, the game was too hard for me, so I modded it so I could finish it. The number of players that are going to give you a bunch of crap are going to be small, and those are going to be, you know, those people are probably assholes in every aspect of their life, not just in video games. Most people won't care. They'll be like, okay, well, at least you tried. That's all it takes. So seriously, I have no issue with Souls-like games being quote-unquote too hard. The games are not for me necessarily. I mean, I don't know. I've never tried one. I have a feeling I'm going to go play this game and I'm just going to get smoked. But, you know, if that happens, hey, at least I gave it a shot. The games don't have to be for you because they don't have to be for everybody. And just remember, when you have a genre of game that functions the exact way you want, you don't want a bunch of tourists traipsing through and demanding that things get changed to suit them when you have it just the way you like it. So it's just food for thought. Anyway, leave a comment down below. Tell me if I'm way off base, if I don't know what I'm talking about, or tell me that you agree, or whatever you want to say. Criticize my receding hairline. It's all good. I don't care. It's fine. I just like talking to people about video games, and I like discussing these things. If you haven't and you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing to the channel. I think I'm sitting at a whole 20 subscribers right now, maybe 19, and I've been doing this for about 8 months. I'm not going to stop. I do enjoy it. I just apparently am not very good at it, but who cares? It's fun. Kind of like video games for me. I'm not very good at them either, but I enjoy them. I'm not going to stop. So anyway, please consider subscribing, dropping a like on the video. Let me know what you think. And I guess that's going to do it. I'll have my next episode of QuickBird News coming up in a couple of days. We're going to talk about a couple things. And there's some stories out there, and one that I saw coming a mile away, and it'll be fun to talk about. So anyway, I'm almost to my destination as I'm driving here. And I'm going to get out of the air conditioning and head back out in the heat. Anyway, y'all, go out there. Thank you for listening. Go out there, live your best lives. Y'all stay gaming.